The Mayday came through in Captain Mara Quinn's own voice. Mayday. Mayday. North Star, Cargo 706 has been hijacked. Cockpit compromised, aircraft turning towards Seattle. Mara stared at the radio. She had not made that call. Her first officer had both hands visible. The loadmaster was strapped in behind them, yet the transmission repeated same words. Same voice, even the pause Mara always took before saying an aircraft number. Then the transponder changed by itself to the hijack code. 2 F-22s appeared out of the gray Pacific sky. The lead fighter moved beside the old cargo plane and rocked its wings. Mara reached for the emergency frequency. Before she could speak, a man's voice entered her headset. Kestrel 9. If that is really you, answer with the last word you said over Nevada. No one aboard knew that name. Mara had buried it 15 years earlier, along with a crashed test aircraft, a dead pilot, and the truth that could destroy one of the largest defense contractors in America. She pressed the transmit switch. Enough. The F-22 pilot answered immediately. Identity confirmed. Kestrel, you have 6 minutes before air defense classifies you as hostile. 6 hours earlier, North Star Cargo Flight 706 sat under freezing rain at Ted Stevens Anchorage International Airport. The aircraft was an aging civilian L-100 Hercules with 4 turboprop engines, a rear loading ramp, and enough scars to prove it had spent more time working than being admired. Captain Mara Quinn liked it for exactly that reason. Cargo airplanes did not care about medals or rumors. They cared about weight, balance, fuel, weather, and whether the person in the left seat respected all 4. Her first officer, Ryan Cole, was 29 and newly promoted. He had quick hands and the confidence of someone who had never watched a small shortcut become a funeral. 76,000 pounds, Ryan said. Medical generators, winter vaccines, communications equipment, and 1 sealed government pallet. Mara looked through the window at the final crate being loaded. It was matte gray, longer than the manifest suggested, with fresh bolts around an older frame. What is pallet 17? Remote weather telemetry equipment. Priority delivery. Who inspected it? North Star Security. That is a department, not a name. Loadmaster Jonah Pike climbed into the cockpit. He was 58 and had worked cargo ramps from Kuwait to Kodiak. Pallet 17 arrived 10 minutes before cutoff. Jonah said, the escort would not let me open it. Weight manifest says 4,800. Scale said 5,360. Ryan shrugged. The difference is inside tolerance, not when someone writes the lower number twice, Mara said. She walked into the cargo hold. Crates of neonatal warming units filled the forward section. Refrigerated vaccine containers were strapped along the center line. Pallet 17 sat beside the rear ramp. Mara placed one hand against its frame. A faint vibration moved through the metal. Not refrigeration, something faster. Electronic? Internal power? She asked. Jonah checked the tag. Declared passive. She could order the crate removed, but the flight would miss the only safe weather window over the Gulf of Alaska, and the vaccines were already delayed after a week of storms. Then North Star Operations sent a message. Priority federal cargo. Do not delay. Mara hated the wording. It made responsibility sound like disobedience. She photographed the seal, recalculated the center of gravity using the higher weight, and signed the release with a note requiring inspection upon arrival. It was careful. It was defensible. It was also the first decision of the night she would later wish she had refused to make. Flight 706 departed Anchorage at 8:14 p.m. For the first hour, nothing happened. The Hercules climbed above a dark ocean hidden by cloud. Ryan handled the radios. Jonah checked the restraints. Mara watched a green weather return slide across the display. At 9:27, the number 3 generator flickered. Old airplane, Ryan said. Old airplanes warn you in old ways. Mara checked the electrical loads. One circuit showed a draw that did not match anything on the manifest. Jonah, confirmed pallet 17 is still passive. 30 seconds after he left, the navigation display shifted their position 12 miles east. The inertial system disagreed with the satellite position. Magnetic compass disagreed with both. Mara disconnected the autopilot. North Star 706, confirm heading 185. Air traffic control said. Ryan answered. Center, we are heading 162. Possible navigation interference. Only static returned. Then Mara heard her own voice on the emergency frequency. Mayday, Mayday. North Star Cargo 706 has been hijacked. Ryan went pale. The transponder changed to 7500. He reached for the breakers. Mara stopped him. Do not pull anything until we know what is feeding it. Jonah returned. The gray pallet is warm. The cockpit lights dimmed. The flight management display rebooted and loaded a new route toward a restricted naval corridor west of Washington State. This was not a malfunction. A malfunction did not imitate a pilot's voice, alter a transponder, and create a politically dangerous flight path. Someone wanted the aircraft to look hijacked. 2 fast-moving contacts appeared on the traffic display. Seconds later, F-22s broke through the clouds. The lead fighter rocked its wings. Ryan opened the intercept checklist. Follow their turn. Not yet. They think we are hijacked and someone aboard wants us on a specific heading. I am not accepting another command until I know who is transmitting it. A flare burned ahead of the Hercules, flooding the cockpit with orange light. Mara selected 121.5 again. Before she spoke, the fighter pilot said, Kestrel 9, if that is really you. Answer with the last word you said over Nevada. Ryan stared at her. No civilian controller knew that call sign. Mara pressed the switch. Enough. Identity confirmed, the fighter pilot replied. His voice softened. Hello, Mara. She recognized him. Colonel Adrian Shaw, callsign Archer. 15 years earlier, he had been the only officer in a Nevada control room who refused to sign a false accident report. Archer, Mara said. You have 6 minutes before command classifies you as hostile. Then help me prove who is controlling my future. Adrian sent the second F-22 behind the Hercules to inspect its antennas and cargo ramp. Your transponder still shows hijack, he said. Ground radar sees altitude changes you are not making. Ghost data. More than that. Command sees 2 versions of your aircraft. One is talking to us. The other appears to be descending toward a naval installation. Mara looked toward the cargo hold. Pallet 17. Jonah prepared to open it. Photograph every side first, Mara ordered. Do not break the seal until we protect the evidence. Ryan laughed nervously. Fighters may shoot us down. And you are worried about paperwork? I once watched a dead pilot blamed because no one protected the evidence. The argument ended. While Jonah recorded the pallet, Ryan asked, What was Kestrel 9, a test call sign? For Mara glanced at the corrupted displays, a program called Crosswind. It was supposed to keep aircraft flying when satellites, data links, and digital navigation were compromised. 15 years earlier, Crosswind fused every available source into one confident answer. The danger was not that it was always wrong. The danger was that it looked most certain when it was wrong. During the final Nevada trial, Mara flew Kestrel 9. Major Anna Reese flew Kestrel 10 beside her. A software patch had been installed without the pilots being told. At high speed, the system displayed a mountain pass where no pass existed. Mara saw moonlight on rock and broke left. Anna trusted the display. Her aircraft struck the ridge. Halcyon Defense Systems blamed pilot disorientation. Adrian reported the hidden software patch. His report vanished, and his career stalled. Mara was told to sign a statement blaming Anna or watch the classified program swallow the case without any public investigation. She signed. Then she resigned and disappeared into civilian cargo work. A metallic crash came through the intercom. Jonah's camera feed appeared on Ryan's tablet. Inside Pallet 17 was an electronic rack surrounded by batteries, cooling fans, and concealed antennas. Behind it sat a black fireproof case marked Crosswind Flight Data Kestrel 10. Mara stared at the screen. Anna's original recorder had survived. Not the edited copy used in the inquiry. The original. A timer on the electronic rack counted down from 11 minutes. Adrian saw it through the shared feed. That device may be designed to burn the recorder or destroy the aircraft, while the false track explains why no one should investigate. Ryan lowered his eyes. The pallet failed secondary inspection in Anchorage. Jonah stopped moving. Ryan continued. Operations said the delay would cost North Star its federal contract. They offered me $5,000 to sign that inspection was complete. You took it? Mara asked. Yes, she did not shout. You helped place an unknown powered device aboard an aircraft carrying 3 people. I thought it was paperwork. Shortcuts always look like paperwork before they become emergencies. Ryan swallowed. What do you want me to do? Mara looked at the countdown. Help us live long enough for your confession to matter. The timer reached 9 minutes. Jonah traced the cables. One line fed internal batteries. Another disappeared beneath the black recorder case. Do not cut anything, Mara said. What if it is a detonator? What if cutting it is the detonator? Adrian moved beneath the Hercules and scanned the pallet with the F-22s infrared sensors. Highest heat source is the transmitter rack, he reported. Recorder case is cool. Ryan studied the cargo diagram. We can open the rear ramp in flight at lower speed, Jonah said, after I remove 4 chains around a device that may ignite. The false radar target continued toward the naval corridor. Air Defense no longer trusted the crew's voice because the false Mayday used Mara's voice too. Adrian spoke carefully. Command has authorized me to force you away from the coast, and if I do not comply, he did not answer. Mara understood. An aircraft broadcasting a hijack code and appearing aimed at a military installation would eventually stop being treated as a mystery. Give me a safe jettison area. You cannot throw federal evidence into the ocean. I will throw the transmitter. Jonah will keep the recorder. Ryan unfastened his harness. I will help him. You are the other pilot. You said shortcuts become emergencies. Let me stop being the shortcut. Mara sent him aft. The cargo hold became a separate world of steel, noise, and a countdown. Jonah removed the outer straps while Ryan held a flashlight. At the controls, Mara descended toward 8,000 feet and reduced speed. Adrian gave her a heading toward empty ocean. Turned 10 degrees left. Mara did not move. Kestrel, acknowledge. The false route changed left 3 seconds before you spoke. Someone was hearing their communications and steering the ghost track in real time. Your channel is compromised, Mara said. Switch to crosswind brevity. That protocol is 15 years old. That is why they may not be listening. Adrian clicked his microphone 3 times, paused, then once. It meant, hold heading, descend 500, follow visual instruction. Mara answered with 2 clicks. The F-22 moved ahead and guided the Hercules with wing position instead of words. Ryan heard the clicks from the cargo hold. Why did they understand that? Jonah loosened the final chain. Because she was never just a cargo pilot. Mara heard him. She looked at the scratched throttle levers, analog backup instruments, and the cargo pressing against its restraints behind her. Tonight, she said, cargo pilot is exactly what I need to be. At 4 minutes, Jonah removed the panel between the transmitter and recorder. A wire connected them. Beneath the recorder sat a pressure switch. If we lift the case, the switch releases, Jonah said. The transmitter stood on 4 small cargo rollers. Someone expected the crew to push it out. Mara saw the trap if they jettisoned the transmitter immediately. The false radar target would follow it into the ocean. Halcyon could claim the Hercules crashed with Anna's recorder aboard. Meanwhile, the real aircraft would remain near restricted airspace, still showing a hijack code. Throwing the device away would destroy their best proof that the airplane and the ghost target were separate. Do not move it, Mara ordered. The timer showed 2 minutes. 50 seconds. Ryan stared at the numbers. Then what is the plan? Mara looked at the F-22 holding beside her. We make the lie visible. Mara asked Adrian to place the second F-22 behind and above the Hercules with every camera recording. Then she told Jonah to open the rear ramp only 12 inches, enough for the transmitter's antenna to see open sky. She said, not enough for the rack to leave. Ryan understood. The stronger signal creates a clearer false track, and the fighters record it, separating from our real position while the device remains visibly aboard. The timer reached 90 seconds. Mara slowed the Hercules. Jonah released the ramp lock. Wind screamed through the cargo hold. Dust and insulation rushed aft. The transmitter's cooling fans accelerated. On military radar, a second North Star 706 appeared directly beneath the real aircraft. Then it dropped 3,000 feet in 1 second and turned toward the coast. Adrian's voice entered through a clean relay channel. We have 2 tracks. Visual aircraft remains level. False target is maneuvering independently. Send it to command. Already done. At 40 seconds, a red light appeared on the rack. Battery temperature rising, Jonah said. Mara had exposed the deception, but the device was preparing to burn itself and possibly the recorder. Separate them now. Jonah forced a pry bar beneath the transmitter. Ryan pulled the release lever. The rack rolled 2 inches. The connecting wire tightened. Ryan reached for it. Do not cut it, Mara warned. Jonah found a locking collar. Push in. Quarter turn left. Ryan pushed, turned, and pulled. The cable separated. The timer stopped at 11 seconds. Then smoke poured from the battery enclosure. Ramp fully open, Mara ordered. Jettison the rack. The transmitter rolled aft and stopped when one wheel dropped into a damaged floor track. Ryan and Jonah pushed. It did not move. We need more angle, Ryan coughed. With the ramp open and the Hercules near minimum speed, too much bank could shift the other cargo. Too little would accomplish nothing. Mara checked the forward restraints. Everyone brace. The F-22s moved clear. Mara added power to the outside engines and rolled into a controlled left bank. In the cargo hold, the transmitter strained against the trapped wheel. Jonah kicked the track beside it. The wheel jumped free. The smoking rack rolled across the ramp and vanished into darkness. Mara leveled the airplane. Raptor 2 followed the falling device with its sensors. The false North Star track descended with it. 10 seconds later, the transmitter ignited in a white flash over the ocean. The ghost target disappeared. Only 1 cargo aircraft remained on radar. Level, visible, still under Mara's control. Hostile classification canceled, Adrian said. You are cleared direct to McCord. Jonah closed the ramp. Anna's recorder remained secured. So did the vaccines and medical equipment. Mara allowed herself 1 full breath. Then engine number 3 lost oil pressure. The warning horn sounded. Jonah looked toward the cockpit. You could not give us 1 quiet minute? Quiet minutes are for airplanes on the ground. The Hercules could fly on 3 engines, but the transmitter's electrical surge had weakened part of the hydraulic system. The landing gear might lower. The brakes and nose wheel steering might not work normally. Ryan returned to the right seat, his face gray with smoke and shame. I should not be here. You should be where the consequences of your choice are visible, Mara said. Run the landing checklist. His voice shook on the first item. It steadied on the second. By final approach, he sounded like a pilot again. The F-22s remained beside them, no longer intercepting the Hercules, escorting it. At 500 feet, Mara saw emergency trucks lining the runway. At 200, the right main gear light flickered. Go around? Ryan asked. Fuel says no. Adrian moved beneath the wing. Right main appears down and aligned, Mara continued. The Hercules touched on the left gear. First, then the right, the uncertain gear held. Braking response was weak. Mara used reverse thrust and careful differential power to keep the aircraft straight. The center line slowed beneath them, then stopped for several seconds. Nobody spoke. Adrian's F-22 passed low over the runway, climbed and rocked its wings. Ryan watched it disappear. What did you say over Nevada, he asked. Enough what? Mara looked back at the recorder case. Enough people letting confidence replace evidence. The investigation began before the engines cooled. Federal agents removed the crosswind recorder under armed guard. Engineers documented every cable, pressure switch, battery cell, an antenna fragment left in the cargo hold. Ryan confessed before anyone offered immunity. He returned the money, surrendered his license pending review, and identified the operations executive who had called him. The original Kestrel 10 recorder changed everything. It contained Anna Rees' cockpit data, the unauthorized software load, and an exchange missing from the official copy. Anna had recognized the false terrain display 7 seconds before impact. She tried to disconnect the system. The command failed. Her last words were not confusion. They were a warning. Crosswind is flying the airplane. Halcyon had spent 15 years selling versions of the same architecture while hiding the failure that killed her. When the Justice Department found the recorder, someone inside the contractor arranged for it to travel on Mara Quinn's aircraft. Her recorded voice made the false hijacking believable. Her secret call sign made her involvement look like revenge. If Flight 706 had been forced down or destroyed, the evidence would vanish, and the pilot who already carried public guilt would take the blame again. 3 months later, Mara testified before a federal committee. She wore the same plain cargo jacket she had worn on Flight 706. The chairman asked why she had signed the false accident statement 15 years earlier. Because I was told secrecy protected the country. Did it? It protected a contract. The room became still. I believed being a good officer meant carrying the weight quietly. Mara continued, I was wrong. Silence is not integrity when it leaves a dead person holding the blame. Adrian testified after her. When asked why he trusted Mara, despite the hijack code, he answered, the data told me she was hostile. Her behavior told me the data had been taught to lie. Halcyon's contracts were suspended. Executives faced charges for fraud, obstruction, and evidence tampering. Anna Rees' record was corrected. Mara was offered a position on a military navigation safety board. She declined. Instead, she returned to North Star Cargo. A month later, she stood beneath the repaired Hercules while a new first officer inspected the landing gear. The young pilot noticed a small Kestrel painted beside the cockpit door. Was that always there? No. What does it mean? Mara looked toward the ramp where Jonah supervised a shipment of hospital equipment. It means instruments are useful, she said, but responsibility still belongs to the person willing to look outside. Inside the cockpit, someone had attached a small metal label beneath the radio panel. Evidence first. Mara left it there. People often imagine courage as a dramatic return to who someone used to be. Mara did not become Kestrel 9 again. She remained a cargo pilot, the person responsible for knowing what had been placed behind her, who signed for it, and whether it deserved to reach the ground safely. The spectacular moment began with F-22s. The truth began with an extra 560 pounds, a handwritten seal, and a vibration everyone else was willing to ignore. That is why stories like hers matter. Heroism does not always arrive wearing the name we expect. Sometimes it hides inside an ordinary job until one person decides that cleared is not the same as safe. If you want more stories about quiet skills becoming impossible to ignore when everything goes wrong, subscribe and stay with us. The next emergency may begin with a Mayday, but the real story usually begins much earlier with the detail everyone else chose not to question.